Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. This video is about 3-year final self-paced online module Set B Strategic Cost and Performance Management. In this video, we will be seeing about some repeated questions which are frequently asked in Set B exams. These questions I have compiled based on the information that I got from the candidates who appeared for the exams. I have framed these questions and given the solution for this. I am also going to be explaining them so that you will be able to know how to attempt it when you are getting the same questions in the examination. And before that, we need to see one thing. In our YouTube channel, if you are preparing for FEDB, we have many resources which will be useful for you. If you don't know anything about FEDB and you are going to prepare for it, you are going to start preparing for it, you can watch the strategy video, which will give you an idea about the FEDB. And then we have a sums marathon and theory marathon. Both are 12 hours each. In that, in 12 hours, all the ICI case scenario booklet and the ICI study material, everything will be covered in the 12 hours for practical sums separately and for theory separately. First, you can watch the sums marathon, then the theory marathon. This will be the order. And then, after doing all this, you can come to the repeated questions. This will help you to get familiar of the repeated questions which are going to be asked in the Set B exams. And then, for Set C arbitration and Set D entrepreneurship too, we are having some marathons which will be available in our YouTube channel. I will also be providing the links of these videos in the description and in the pinned comment. And the notes which I am going to use here, this will be available in the Telegram channel. The link for Telegram channel will also be given in the description and in the pinned comment. Now we can move to the questions. Here, one question you might have all seen, but you would not have arrived at the answer is this question. This is the image that is being circulated in Telegram, and this is a question of international transfer pricing involving two or more countries, exchange rates, and then the conversions and all. So this question you might have seen, but many are unable to come at the answer because we are having a error in this question. That also I will be explaining here. First, before coming into this question, we have to see some basics of foreign exchange. After that only we will be able to easily do this thing because we are having foreign exchange rate and conversion and all. But if you are already knowing forex, also you can watch this 10 minutes to get a brushing up. And then if you are not, if you have not prepared for AFM till now, you can watch this 10-minute video. You will understand basics of forex and how to apply this in this question. Now we can see the first question. Now this is the international transfer pricing question which I told here. Here we are having a company. That company is having two subsidiaries, one in Brazil and the other in South Korea. So between these companies, these subsidiaries, we are having some transaction, and then we are going to make a benefit analysis. In that we have to decide which option is the most beneficial for the company. For that we need to know some basics of forex. First we can see what are the things in forex. First, we can see the most important thing, which will be the core part of forex, which we will be using in this question too. First, we can see that, and then I will give you some additional points, which will be asked in some more questions in the Set B. If the questions are asking the points, you can apply those also. Now, first we can see how to convert the currencies. Now we can see the foreign exchange rate. Every day we will hear the USD per INR rate. For $1 how many rupees we have to give. That rate you will be always hearing in the news or newspapers. Every day we will be coming towards that rate in one way or the other. We will be hearing that. Now this is the rate which we are going to see. Rupee per dollar 80. What is the meaning of this? When you give $1, they will give 80 rupees. For $1, 80 rupees is the equivalent currency. So this is what that's being conveyed using this expression. And then now when you want to convert $1 lakh into rupees, how to convert that using this exchange rate? That we are going to see. Now, rupee and dollar, you can take two things because that is the two currencies that are being involved in this exchange rate. When you give $1, they will give you 80 rupees. $1 equals 80 rupees. So now $1 lakh is equal to how many rupees? That is what we are going to find out. This you can do it by simple cross multiplication. You are going to multiply these two and then divide by this one. So when you cross multiply, you will get this and you can convert it to easily 80 lakhs. You will easily get the 80 lakhs. So if you can do this using normal cross multiplication itself. And then the next thing is, this we saw that how to convert dollar into rupee. Now with the same exchange rate, we can convert rupee into dollar also. First we converted $1 lakh into Indian rupees. Now we are going to convert 10 lakh Indian rupees into US dollars. The same thing, rupee, dollar. For $1 they are giving you 80 rupees. For 10 lakh rupees, how much dollar we can get? So that is the thing we are going to find out. Same cross multiplication, when you do it, you will easily get that $12,500. So this is how you are going to find out the conversion of the currencies using the foreign exchange rate given. First we have to see the rate and then see which currency you are going to convert. Accordingly, you have to cross multiply and find out. This cross multiplication is the logic. This is how the currencies are being converted. But every time you cannot do this and do this in the exam during the 3-hour period. It will be very difficult when you are converting multiple times. So we are having a shortcut for this. You can remember this using a shortcut also. Now we are having a rupee per dollar equal to 80. Here the dollar is treated as a commodity. For buying $1, how much rupees we are giving? The price per dollar. So here dollar is being treated as a commodity. Same like that. Here for other commodities also you will see the prices. For 1 kilogram of tomatoes, 25 rupees is the consideration. That is the price. So 25 divided by per 1 kilogram of tomatoes. So this is how they will be displaying the prices for other commodities also. In the same way, you are having the price first, and then you are having the dollar. For $1, how many rupees? That is what we are going to see here. This is a direct quote for the Indians. We are Indians, and for us, dollar is the commodity. In this, we are having two currency. One is rupee, other is the dollar. Rupee is our home currency, and then dollar is the foreign currency. We will be treating dollar as the commodity. So, dollar is the commodity. For $1, 80 rupees. That is the thing here. This we can call it as quote for dollar. The quote they have given the quotation for buying dollar. For doing transaction in dollar is a commodity. So simply when it is given rupee per dollar, you have to see what is the thing in the denominator. Like if you think this as a fraction, you can see what is the thing in the denominator per dollar. So here dollar is the commodity. This is the quote for dollar. Now the next thing is, now we came to the conclusion that this is the quote for dollar. Now we have to convert $1,00,000 into rupees. Now we have to convert the dollar. You are having $1,00,000 in hand. Dollar is in hand. You are going to convert it into rupees. So you have to convert to the dollar, but the quote also it is given in dollar. The quote we already saw that this is the quote for dollar. You are going to convert dollar. So both are matching. You are going to convert dollar. Quote is also given for dollar. So you have to multiply. This is the shortcut. So $1,00,000 you are going to convert 1 lakh into 80 is the quote. When you multiply, you will get the rupees. So this is the conversion using the shortcut. Quote is given for dollar. You are also going to convert to the dollar. So you are going to multiply. Now we can see the next case. Here now you are going to convert rupees. You are going to convert rupees, but the 80 they have given right. That is rupee per dollar. That is the quote for dollar. You are going to convert rupees, but the quote is given for dollar. So you have to divide. You are going to convert rupees, but they have given the quote for dollar. So 10 lakh divided by 80. $12,500 you got. Earlier also using the cross multiplication we got 80 lakhs and $12,500. Now using this shortcut also we are getting 80 lakhs and then $12,500. The only thing which you have to remember is what is the quote. This is the quote for dollar. Now see what currency you are converting. You have to convert dollar. When you are converting dollar, quote is also given for dollar. Both are matching, so multiply. Now the next thing is when you are converting rupees but the quote is given for dollar. The quote they have given for dollar, but you are going to convert rupees. This is not matching, so you have to divide. This is the simple logic that you have to understand. Now how to apply this concept in practical sums? In sum they will give you something like this. Subsidiary in USA earned a profit of $240,000. The parent company is in India and it wants to bring the profit back to India. So the subsidiary is carrying $240,000 in hand, and the parent company wants to bring it back to India. So you have to convert the dollar into rupees and send it to India. Now we are having the exchange rate. In this also, when you see earlier we saw only one exchange rate, but here we are having two exchange rate. Now we have to see what is the logic behind these two exchange rate. This we will see in the concept of bid and ask. This is the name for these two exchange rates that is being given here. Now what is bid, what is ask? Now when you are going to a bank, and then what the bank will do in foreign exchange, that we have to understand first. Bank will buy at a rate, buy the dollar at a rate and sell the dollar at a rate. These two rate will be there with the bank, and then the difference between these two rate will be the profit for the bank. So this is one thing which you have to understand. When the bank will get profit, when they are selling at a higher rate and when they are going to buy at a lower rate, then this difference they can call it as a profit. So always the bank will sell at a higher rate and then the bank will buy at a lower rate. So the bank will sell to whom? The bank will sell to customers. The bank will buy from whom? The bank will also buy from the customers. When you are a person working in outside India, you are, for example, you are working in USA, you are going to send a dollar to your family in India. Now what you have to do? You are having your salary in dollars. You have to sell the dollars and then buy rupees, and then this rupees will be sent to your family in India. So this is what that is going to happen. This dollar you are selling, right? Who will buy the dollar? You will go to the bank and you will tell that you are going to send this much money to India. So they will sell the dollar. The bank will get the dollar. The bank will take the dollar from you and it will give you rupees. That rupee will be directly deposited to your family bank account in India. So when you are going to sell, the bank only is going to buy. So again, when you are in India, you are going to send money to your relative in USA. Now what you are going to do? You are going to deposit the rupee in your bank account and you are going to say, this rupee I am going to send to America. So what the bank will do? The bank will take the rupee and it will give you the dollar. And then this dollar they will directly send to the relative in America. So when you are buying also, the bank only is going to give the dollar to you. When you are selling also, the bank will take the dollar from you. So that is what happening here. Now when you are having the quote like 81 or 82, like this you are having. Now customer will always buy at a high price, and then customer when he is selling, he will also always sell at a low price. This is what you have to remember. This is the very shortcut that for identifying which rate you have to use. When you are having rupee per dollar 81 82, the customer when you are purchasing, you will purchase at 82, and then when you are selling dollar, you will sell at 81. Why we are going to do that? We will purchase at 81 only, right? Because we are going to if we want to make profit as a customer, if you are going to make a profit, you have to buy at low and sell at high. Only then you will get the profit of 1 rupee. But you cannot do that. You are allowed to purchase only at 82 rupees. You are allowed to sell only at 81 rupees. This is the rules of the system. If you are doing the profit, you are getting a profit of 1 rupee. This is a loss for the bank. Actually, this profit was supposed to be earned by the bank. The bank only will buy at 81 and will sell at 82. That 1 rupee is a profit for the bank. You cannot interfere in the profit for the bank. So you will always buy at high price. You will always sell at low price. When you are going to bank and giving $1 to the bank, they will give you only 81 rupees. But again, when you are trying to purchase $1 from the bank, they will charge you 82 rupees. When you go for buying, they will ask 82 rupees from you. But when you go for selling a dollar, they will give you only 81 rupees. This 1 rupees is the profit for the bank. So that you have to see. Now in bid and ask, that is the logic here. Bid is the price at which bank is willing to buy the foreign currency. Ask is the price at which bank is willing to sell the foreign currency. So this bid and ask is rupee per dollar 81, 82. Here this will be the rate of buying for the customer. Customer will buy at higher price and then customer will sell at lower price. So this is the bid and ask. Now you will buy at high and sell at low. And then what will happen is when you are buying, what will happen? The bank, this is the buying transaction for customer, but for bank this transaction will be sales transaction. When you are buying, bank will sell to you. Now when customer is selling the dollar, the bank will buy. So this is the logic behind. Bid means the bank will buy. Ask means the bank will sell. That is what they have given in the statement there. Now for questions, what you have to remember, when the quote is given like this is the higher price at which the customer will buy. You are the customer, so you have to think only from the point of view of the customer. And then this 81, you will sell at lower rate. Buy at higher rate, sell at lower rate. So that is how you have to find out which rate to select. Okay, now the spread. Now when you are having the quote like 81, 82, this difference between these two quotes, that 1 rupee, that is the spread. This is the profit margin of the dealer. This is the profit for the bank, and this is the cost of transaction for the customer. When you are converting dollar and you are getting rupees like that and all, when you are doing transaction, this 1 rupees you will be giving because you are going to buy at 82, sell at 81. So actually you are getting 1 rupee loss. This is a loss for you and it is a profit for the bank. And then pips. This is the price interest point. For example, you are having an exchange rate like 82.4051 and 82.4111. Now here you are having 4 digit of decimal point after the exchange rate. Now what is the smallest point at which the exchange rate can change? Here it can become 82.4052 and it can become 82.4112, or else it can become 82.4050, or it can become 82.4110. So this last decimal point is the smallest quantity at which the thing can change, at which the exchange rate can change. It can either add 1 here or it can minus 1 here. So that is the meaning of pips, the smallest magnitude at which the exchange rate can change. If you are having an exchange rate with 4 decimal, the pips will be 0.0001. This is the fourth decimal point, the digit after the decimal point, the fourth digit, that will be the smallest change in the exchange rate. Pips means the smallest change in the exchange rate. Now, when you are having 4-digit decimal points, the pip will be 0.0001. Now, what is the difference between these two? Between 0.0213 and 0.0219, we are having a difference of 0.0006. So, the difference is 6 pips. Like that they are saying. Now, the next thing is cross rate. Now, what is cross rate? For example, you are having rupees per dollar, and then you are having euro per dollar. Now what you want? You want rupee per euro. Directly you are not having the rupee per euro, but you are having these two currency, rupee per dollar and euro per dollar. How do you use these two currency and then convert the exchange rate into rupee per euro? Now we can do multiplication or division of these two foreign exchange rate to arrive at the rupee per euro. We are having the rupee per dollar and then you are having euro per dollar. Now we have to do either multiplication or division between these two exchange rate. If we do multiplication, what will happen? We cannot cancel the dollar. The objective is to multiply or divide. By doing that, what we have to do? We have to cancel the dollar and we have to get the rupee per euro. So this is our objective. Now what is happening? Here, when you multiply directly, this will become rupee into euro divided by dollar into dollar. This will not cancel the dollar. So we cannot use multiplication here. So what we have to use? We have to use division. When you divide, what will happen? Rupee per dollar, the second fraction will get reciprocal, dollar per euro. Now dollar will cancel, you will get the rupee per euro. So this is the cross rate concept. When you are having two rate and then you want a third rate, but you are unable to get that using directly. Directly you are not getting the third rate. So you are using the first two rate to get the third rate. So I think you would have understood the concept. You have to either multiply or divide the two exchange rate. You have to use that and cancel the third currency and you have to arrive at the rate which you want. That is the concept of cross rate. Now we have another concept which is the interbank rate and the retail rate. Interbank rate means this is the foreign exchange rate at which the bank will do transaction with one another. For example, HDFC Bank will buy foreign exchange currency like dollar or euro from ICICI Bank using this interbank rate because both the parties involved in the transaction are commercial banks. So interbank rate will be used. But you as an individual, when you are trying to buy dollar from a bank, you are a customer. So they will give retail rate to you. Retail rate means in the interbank rate they will add some margin. They will add or minus some margin, both will happen, and then that after that adjusting that margin you will get the retail rate. Now when you are having this kind of exchange rate 82.1 or 82.2, 82.1 oblique 82.2. Now here you are having, right, this is the buy because the customer will buy at a higher rate and then the customer will sell at a lower rate. This is the concept that we know. Now you have to add the margin or minus the margin that we have to find out. This you can find out by seeing this transaction, comparing it to a brokerage transaction. For example, you are going to purchase a share. Some 100 shares or 200 shares you are buying, and for that 1 lakh rupees is required. Now the brokerage is 1000 rupees. Now the total amount, how much you need to pay? 1 lakh plus 1000. So 1 lakh 1000 you have to pay. So when you are buying, you have to add the margin. This brokerage is similar to the margin. When you are buying, you have to add the margin. So now here when you are coming, you will be buying at a higher rate. When you are buying, you have to add the margin. Same thing when you are going to a broker and you are selling a share. By selling it, you are getting total 1 lakh rupees. And then the fees to the broker is same, 1,000 rupees. So how much the broker will give you? He will give a remittance of 99,000 rupees. So this is the proceeds which you are getting when you are selling. When you are selling, you will reduce the margin. So the same concept is applied here. When you are selling, you are reducing the margin. So when you are buying from the interbank rate, if you want to go to the normal retail rate, you have to add the margin. When you are selling, you have to reduce the margin. So from the buy rate, we are adding a margin. Suppose the margin is 0.05, you will add the margin and you will come to the retail rate. Now, when you are selling, you will reduce the margin and you will come to the retail rate. So this is the method which you have to follow when you are calculating retail rate using margin and then the interbank rate. Now the next thing is swap point for forward rate. Spot rate will be available to you, but forward rate they will give you in the form of swap point. For example, when this forward rate will be useful? For example, you are going to get a cash flow after 3 months. Now, when you are using this 3 month forward rate, you can lock the forward rate by making contract with the bank, and then using this 3 month forward rate, you can use a fixed rate and to convert the cash flow which you are going to get after 3 months. Whatever the market rate after 3 months, that will not be considered, and then the fixed rate which you are making a contract, that forward rate will be the rate at which you will be converting it. So for that they will be giving swap points. Spot rate will be given to you, and then you have to add the swap points to the spot rate to get the forward rate. For example, spot rate you are getting 84.5, 84.6 rupee per dollar. Now they are giving swap point 40.50. Now you have to see whether the swap point is in increasing order or decreasing order. 40 and then 50 plus 10. So this is in an increasing order. So you have to add this swap point to the spot rate. 84.5 plus 40 point, how you will add? You have to convert it into decimal. Here we are having 2 digits after the decimal point, so you have to make it into 0.40. Again you have to have two digits only after the decimal point, so 0.40. When you add it, you will get 84.9, and when you are adding 50 swap point, 0.50, because 2 decimal point. Now, when you add 0.50, you will get to the 3 months forward. 84.5 plus 0.4, 84.9. Same thing when you add, you will get to the 3 months forward rupee per dollar. And then when you are having the swap point in decreasing order, 30 to 20 minus 10. So it is in a decreasing order. The same thing you have to minus the swap point in both the places. So this is the concept of swap point. So now we understood how to convert the currency and how to select the bid ask rate, and then what is the interbank rate, retail rate, and swap point, everything we saw. Now we can move to the question. Now we can read the transfer pricing question. Here we are having a company, XYZ Electronics Limited. It is a global technology firm headquartered in Bangalore, specializing in the design and distribution of high-end smartphones and tablets. The company operates subsidiaries worldwide, each involved in the manufacturing or sales of electronic devices under the XYZ brand. Now we have a holding company. It is in India, Bangalore, and it has a lot of subsidiaries worldwide. Now current scenario. In the current scenario, what is happening? We have a Brazil subsidiary. The Brazilian subsidiary of the company purchases a critical semiconductor component for its devices from the South Korean subsidiary of XYZ Electronics Limited. Here we are having the Brazil subsidiary which is buying a component. Now, who is the Brazil subsidiary buying from? South Korean subsidiary is the supplier of that component. These two are the subsidiaries of the XYZ company itself. Now next, what is it? For 1 year, the subsidiary, the Brazil subsidiary, purchases 250,000 units of the component. The price per component is 35,000 won. This W is the symbol for won. This is the South Korean currency. And then they have to pay an import duty of 18% of the value of purchased semiconductor component. Now, this is the current scenario. Now, what is the alternative proposal? A German multinational tech company manufacturing a comparable semiconductor component suitable for the XYZ electronics devices has a production facility in Brazil. This German company has proposed to supply the same component to the Brazilian subsidiary at $140 per unit. This $, is the Brazilian currency. This is the Brazilian real. So, this is the Brazilian currency. What we are having here, currently the Brazilian subsidiary is purchasing from the South Korean subsidiary. Now what is the alternative proposal? We have a German company. That German company is already having a manufacturing unit in Brazil. So this Brazil manufacturing unit is also manufacturing a similar component which can be substituted instead of the South Korean component. So we can substitute it. Now the Brazil manufacturing unit is ready to sell the unit at $140 for 1 unit of component. For 1 component, $140. So this is the price quoted by the Brazil manufacturing unit of the German multinational company. Now what is the assessment we have to do? The company is currently evaluating the proposal, and it has come to the opinion that South Korean subsidiary has to sell separately. They are asking South Korean subsidiary how much they can sell separately. They are asking the opinion of the South Korean subsidiary here. The South Korean subsidiary, what it is selling? Currently it is selling 250,000 units to the Brazil subsidiary. Now, if the Brazil subsidiary starts to purchase locally from the Brazilian manufacturing unit itself, now the South Korean South Korean subsidiary will not have any sales, lost sales of 250,000 units. So, the South Korean subsidiary can locally, within the South Korea itself, they can sell 150,000 units. And then at the existing price, this 150,000 they can sell at the existing price itself. The price at which the Brazil subsidiary is buying. Same price we can recover for 150,000 units. But an extra expenditure will be incurred 6% local consumption tax. Like GST, we have a local consumption tax in that company, in that particular country, and then we are going to pay that additionally. So South Korean subsidiary says that this much units I can sell it at the same price, extra this much tax I have to pay. Now, what is the costing and financial data? For manufacturing 1 unit of semiconductor, that component, the cost for the South Korean subsidiary is 30,000 won, South Korean won. Fixed cost will remain the same. The tax rate and the foreign exchange rate are given below. Here you can see the tax rate and the foreign exchange rate. India, this much is the tax rate, 30%. The exchange rate they have given. For 1 rupee, 0.06 BRL. BRL means Brazilian currency. South Korea, 34% tax rate. For 1 rupee, 16.04 South Korean currency. And then for Brazil, 36% is the tax rate. For 1 Korean currency, if you want to convert into Brazil currency, 0.0037. So this is the exchange rate they have given. Now, they have asked 3 questions. Calculate the local consumption tax. The local consumption tax they are paying, right, 6% additionally for the 150,000 units that they are going to sell within South Korea itself. That local consumption tax they are asking. And then net profit or loss after tax to the South Korean subsidiary. Due to this proposal, what is the net profit or loss to the South Korean subsidiary? That is what they are asking. And then net benefit or loss to the company as a whole. This is also they are asking. Now this exchange rate we can convert it into a familiar format. First thing is 0.06 BRL. This BRL we can write it as R dollar also. This is the Brazilian currency. This INR we are going to write as rupee symbol. So for 1 rupee we are getting 0.06 R dollar. So this we can write it as R dollar per rupee equal to 0.06. When you give 1 rupee, they will give you 0.06 R dollar. So R dollar per rupee 0.06. Now this also we can convert. For 1 rupee, this much Korean won. Korean won per rupee is 16.04. The next thing is R dollar. R dollar for 1 Korean won. R dollar per won is 0.0037. The same thing I have given below. Won per rupee 16.04. R dollar per won 0.0037. So this is the exchange rate. We have brought it into a familiar format. Now what is the current scenario we have to see? Currently, what the Brazil subsidiary is doing, it is purchasing 250,000 units every year from the South Korean subsidiary for this much price. So, how much South Korean won they have to pay? This much units for 1 unit, this much price. So, totally 87,500 lakh won. 87,500 lakh South Korean won they have to pay. Now, when you convert this won into local currency, we have to convert into Brazil currency. Only then we can see what is the impact properly. This one we can convert into Brazil currency. Now we can see what is the exchange rate. Here we are going to convert won into R dollar. So we have to find the exchange rate in which both the currencies are there. So R dollar and won both are there in this currency. So this is the rate which we are going to see. And then here we are going to convert the South Korean won. This 87,500 lakh won. We are going to convert won, and the code is also given for won. So we have to multiply 87,500 lakh multiplied by 0.0037. This we have to do. You will get the R dollar. 87,500 multiplied by 0.0037, 323.75 lakh R dollar. This is the Brazilian currency. We want to convert won. The code is also given for won. So we are multiplying. That's all. We converted the purchase price into Brazil currency. Now on this amount we have to pay what we can say custom duty of 18%. Import duty 18% we are paying. Purchase price plus this much custom duty. Total how much cost the Brazil subsidiary is incurring? This much every year for purchasing the component. Now currently what is the South Korean subsidiary doing? The South Korean subsidiary is currently selling this much units at this much price to the Brazil subsidiary. This much sales they are getting. 2.5 lakh units into 35,000 won. And then what is the variable cost they are incurring? Here in the costing and financial data section, they have given that the variable cost is 30,000 won for manufacturing. The variable cost for 250,000 units is total this much won. Now when you adjust the variable cost and the sales, you have to subtract the variable cost from the sales. You will get the contribution. Sales minus variable cost is equal to contribution. 12,500 lakh won is the contribution of the South Korean subsidiary. Now, what is the alternative proposal? One more thing here we have to see that we are stopping the calculation till contribution itself. We are not reducing the fixed cost and then finding out the profit. Because in the question they have given that fixed cost will be same. It is irrelevant like that they have given, regardless of the production volume. We saw that the proposal is that it has to stop the exporting to the Brazil subsidiary. South Korean subsidiary has to stop exporting to the Brazil subsidiary. It has to sell this much units locally. So the production volume is getting reduced. Because of this, is there any change in fixed cost? We can reduce the fixed cost like that. Is there any provision given in the question? No, it is not given. Fixed cost will remain consistent regardless of the production volume. When the South Korean subsidiary is producing 2.5 lakh units and when it is producing 1.5 lakh units, in both the cases the fixed cost will be same. So we are stopping the calculation till contribution itself because there is no change in the fixed cost. Okay, now we found out the contribution. Alternatively, using the alternative proposal, what will be the situation? For a Brazil subsidiary, 2.5 lakh units is the annual requirement. It will be purchased from a Brazil manufacturing unit. A manufacturing unit is in Brazil that is controlled by a German company. We are purchasing locally. That manufacturing unit is also in Brazil. We are also operating in Brazil, Brazilian subsidiary. So it is like a local purchase only. In local purchase, what is the advantage? We don't have to pay the custom duty. So that is the advantage for us. When you want to purchase from the local unit, they are quoting a price of 140 R dollar. So 2.5 lakh units into 140 R dollar, this much 350 lakh R dollar is the purchase cost. And we are not having any custom duty, so this will be the total cost of the goods also. Now, in the alternative proposal, what will happen for the South Korean subsidiary? It will be able to sell only 1.5 lakh units locally. So at the same price they can sell, but only 1.5 lakh units. So total this much one they can earn by sales revenue, and then variable cost will be the same. So this much will be the variable cost, and then they have to incur local consumption tax additionally. This local consumption tax is 6% of the sales value. So 6% of sales value, 52,500. So when you do that, you will get the consumption tax also. When you reduce the cost from the sales, you will get the contribution. This consumption tax is also variable cost only because when you sell extra unit, you want to pay extra consumption tax. So these two are variable expenditure. When you are reducing it from the sales revenue, you will get the contribution. Now we found out the alternative proposal outcome and then the current scenario for both the subsidiaries. Now we can see the impact. For the Brazilian subsidiary, currently they are purchasing the component by paying 382 lakh R dollar. In the alternative proposal, they have to pay only 350 lakh R dollar. So some 30 lakh R dollar they are saving. Cost savings they are getting. Now, to be precise, 32.025 lakh R dollar they are getting a savings in cost. When you are getting any income or any savings in cost, you have to pay tax in it. The tax rate for Brazil country is 36%. So 32.025 into 36% is the corporate tax that you are paying, and after that the net benefit is coming to 20.496 lakh R dollar. So you can also write it as write it without using the lakh word also. You have to 20.496, you have to multiply by 1 lakh. And this is the actual number which you are going to get as the net benefit, 20 lakh 49,600 or dollar. So when you are coming to the South Korean subsidiary, currently they are getting this much contribution, 12,500 lakh won contribution. Alternative proposal, they are getting only 4,350 lakh contribution. So the contribution is reducing. They are getting a loss of contribution. How much is the loss in contribution? 8,150 lakh won is the loss in contribution. This loss in contribution is a loss. So you can use it to get tax deduction. When you are getting an income, then you will get a tax expense. When you are getting an expenditure, when you are getting a loss, the government will give tax deduction. So tax savings you will get on this amount 34%. The tax rate of South Korea country you have to apply. You will get the tax savings. So this is the loss. This will be in negative. This is the savings in tax. This will be in positive. So net loss you will be getting, and then that net loss will be 5,379 lakh won. That also when you want to write in pure numbers, you can write 5379,000,001. So this much is the net loss for the South Korean subsidiary. Now, this is the most critical part of this question. Till now, we have done it very easily, just converting everything, and then we are finding out the cost before proposal and after proposal. Now we have to convert the loss or benefit which we are getting, right? That we have to convert it into the home currency. We are going to see the impact in the home country. The home country is headquartered the company is headquartered in Bangalore, so the home country is in India. The main country is in India. That is the country of the holding company. So we have to convert it into rupees finally. Whatever the loss or whatever the profit we are getting, we have to convert it into rupees finally. We are going to see different method for converting it into rupees. In Brazil, we are getting this much R dollar net benefit. We are getting a positive this much benefit that in Brazilian currency. In South Korea, we are getting this much loss in South Korean currency. This is net loss, South Korea, but it is in South Korean currency. Now we have to convert both the things into rupees. Here we have three methods for calculating the loss in rupees. First, we can do R dollar also we can convert into rupees. Won also we can convert into rupees. Then we can set off these two and see how much profit or loss we are getting in rupees. And another method we are having this R dollar we can keep it the same. This won we can convert into R dollar and we can set off these two in R dollar. After that we can convert into rupees. This is another method. Another method is this R dollar. This won can be in W itself. This R dollar we have to convert it to South Korean won and then we have to set off when these two are in won and then after that we have to convert it into rupee. We have three methods of conversion for this. First thing is converting both into rupee. First convert R dollar into rupee and W into rupee also. First we are going to convert R dollar into rupee. So we have to find an exchange rate where both these currencies are there. R dollar and rupee both are there in the first exchange rate. So we have to use this exchange rate only. Here, first we are going to convert R dollar but the quote is given for rupees. We are going to convert R dollar but the quote is given for rupees. So divide. These two are not matching, so divide. This is the R dollar divided by the quote 0.06. You will get this much. This is the rupees. And then when you are going to convert the South Korean net loss, this much won you are going to convert. Won you are going to convert into rupees. We have to select a rate in which both W and rupees are there. This is the second rate at which W rupees both are there. Now you are going to convert one. The quote is for rupee. You are going to convert one. The quote is for rupee. These two are not matching, so divide. What is the amount you want to convert? 5379 lakh. Divided by what is the quote? 16.04. When you do this, you will get this much rupees. Now both are in rupees. This is the positive net benefit. This is the negative net loss. So when you set off it, you are getting an overall net benefit of 6.25 lakhs. This is under the first method. Now we can go to the second method, converting both into R dollar. Now this Brazil currency is already in R dollar only. We can leave it like that. This one we have to convert into R dollar. What we are going to do? We are going to convert one into R dollar. We have to find an exchange rate where one R dollar both are there. So R dollar one both are there in the third exchange rate. This we are going to use. Now we are going to convert one, but the quote is given for one. We are going to convert one. Quote is also given for one. So multiply. 5379 lakh won multiplied is 0.0037. When you do this, you will get it as R dollar as the output. 5379 lakh multiplied by 0.0037. You are converting one. Quote is also given for one. So multiply. You are getting the output as R dollar. You converted it. Now both are in R dollar. The net benefit we can calculate. Brazil net benefit is 20. South Korea is 19. So from 0.5 lakh we are getting the net benefit. Net benefit is positive. It is good for the company. Now this benefit is in R dollar. This we are going to finally convert it into rupees. What we are going to do? We are going to convert R dollar benefit into rupees. So we have to find out a rate where R dollar rupees both are there. This is the rate 0.06. We are going to convert R dollar but the quote is given for rupees. We are going to convert R dollar but the quote is given for rupees. So we have to divide. So this is the 0.5 lakh net benefit we are getting. Divide by the quote. You are getting this much as the rupees. You have converted into rupees. Now this is the benefit you are getting in the second method, 9.895 lakh, or you can call it 9,89,500. So this is the net benefit under the second method. Now the third method is convert both into one. How to convert both into one? This is already in one. This R dollar only you have to convert into one. You are going to convert R dollar into one. You have to find an exchange rate where both these currencies are there. R dollar one, both are there in the third exchange rate. This is the exchange rate we are going to use now. You are going to convert R dollar into one. Yes, so you are converting R dollar when the quote is given for one. You are converting R dollar but the quote is given for one. So these two are not matching, so divide. This R dollar amount you are dividing by the quote. Now you are getting the 1. R dollar you are converting, but the quote is given for won, so you are dividing, and by dividing you are getting the output as the won. You have converted the currency. Now we have the South Korean net loss already in the South Korean won itself, so we can set off these two, and then we are getting net benefit of 160.46 lakh won. So this one finally we are going to convert into rupees only because the holding company is in India. Now when you are converting won to rupees, now we have to first select an exchange rate where won and rupees both are there. This is the exchange rate in which won and rupees both are there, 16.04. Won per rupee is 16.04. Now we have to convert won, but the quote is given for rupee. We have to convert won, but the quote is given for rupee. So we have to divide it. This is the amount we have to convert. This is the quote. We are dividing it, and we are getting this much rupees. This is the net benefit which we are getting in third option. When we are doing these three things, we are getting different amount. First method we are getting 6 lakhs only. Second method we are getting 9,89,000, close to 10 lakh. But in third method we are getting exactly 10 lakh, more than 10 lakhs. 10 lakh 1,000 we are getting. So this third method is the most beneficial for the company. Finally, we are getting a net benefit only. In the question what they are asking, by doing this proposal, whether we are getting a net benefit or net loss for the company. That is the thing we have to find out. We found out that we are getting a net benefit, so we have to accept the proposal, and then the net benefit also we are getting the highest net benefit in the third method. So that is what we have to do. When they are asking what is the net benefit to the company as a whole, if they are asking in rupees, you have to tell that 10 lakh 1,000. Now first two question we can see. What is the local consumption tax for South Korea local sales? We found out the consumption tax amount, right? That they are asking. But they are asking that in R dollar. We are getting the local consumption tax in won. We have to convert it into R dollar and then check the answer. So here we can see local consumption tax. How much amount we got? The local consumption tax is 3150 lakh won. So we took 3150 lakh won, and then we are multiplying with the exchange rate. The same thing, you are converting won into R dollar. So you have to find an exchange rate where won or dollar both are present. Won or dollar both are present here. You are converting won into R dollar. You have to convert won. The quote is also given for won, so multiply. You are converting won. Quote is also given for won, so multiply. You are converting won. Quote is also given for won. Multiply. You are getting this much as the R dollar. 1165,500. So we can check this in the option 1165,500. So 1165,500. This we are having in the option. So this is the correct option here. Now the next thing is net profit or loss after tax to the South Korean subsidiary. South Korean subsidiary loss also we are having in won. That we have to convert to R dollar and then find it out here because everything is given in R dollar. Same thing. How much is the net loss for the South Korean subsidiary? Net loss for the South Korean subsidiary 5379 lakh won. So we took 5379 lakh won, and then same, you are converting won to R dollar, same exchange rate only. You are multiplying, you are getting the net loss in R dollar 1990,230. We can check in the option 1990,230. So here you see 1990,230. This you are having. So this is the answer for the second question. Now this third question we already found out the answer 10 lakh 1,000. Now this question we solved without any flaw, but I already told that we have a flaw in the question. We have a mistake in the question. So here everything is the same thing which I have given in the text format, but here one thing is wrong. Here they have given in the options that everything is rupees. They have given the options in terms of rupees, but actually this is in terms of Brazilian currency or dollar. If you change it to R dollar, you are getting the answer. But when you convert it into rupee, you are not getting any of this answer. So that is a mistake in this question. I don't think they would have done it intentionally. They might have done a mistake when they are writing the questions, because this much big question they are writing and they might have done some mistake. So you will get the answer if you are converting everything into R dollar. I don't know why they asked the options in R dollar also. The local consumption tax, anyway, it is going to be paid by the South Korean subsidiary. So the option should be in South Korean won only, right? Or else, because of the holding company, they can ask it in rupee. That is also one more logic. But without any connection, they are asking it in R dollar. That I don't know. But when you convert it into R dollar, you are able to match the answer. The next thing is net profit or loss after tax to the South Korean subsidiary. This also everything they have given in rupees, but when you convert in rupees, you will not be able to get the answer. When you convert it into R dollar, you will get the answer. And the next thing is here, I don't think this answer is correct, because they have asked to calculate the net benefit or loss to the XYZ Electronics Limited for the entire company. They are asking. They have made the answer as 9,89,500, because this also we got it as an answer, but that is not the final answer. Under three methods, when we convert it, we are getting highest amount in the third method only, 10.01 lakhs. So this should be the answer. The most beneficial method only will be considered as the answer. The image is also cut. It is not complete. They might have had other options also. They have selected this as the final answer, but I don't know how they came to that logic. So directly when you are converting into rupees, you are getting only 6 lakhs. So you have to convert into all the three options and then see. When you are converting into all the three options, 10.01 lakhs is the answer. As per my knowledge, you have to choose 10.01 lakhs only when it is coming in the answer. Because 9.895 lakhs is also there, but it will not be selected because it is not the most beneficial option. So that's all about this question. This question I hope you would have understood. Now we can move to the next question. Now we can move to the next question. This question is about residual income. If you don't know about residual income, this is in chapter number 9 of Set B, Strategic Performance Measures in Private Sector. So I will give a small introduction or meaning of the term residual income. After that, we can jump into the question. Now here, what is the meaning of residual income? Residual income means remaining income. Residual, the word is meaning remaining. So what is the meaning of remaining income? When you are having a company, you will have something like weighted average cost of capital. This is the cost of capital of the company. This is the weighted average return which is required by all the stakeholders, like debenture holders, preference shareholders, equity shareholders, and then the reserves and surplus, like that. For all the persons who are investing in the company, this is the minimum return that it is required. The company, when it is selecting project, they will select the project only if the rate of return is higher than the weighted average cost of capital. For example, 10% is the weighted average cost of capital. What is the meaning is that for every 1 rupee you are investing, minimum you should get a return of 0.10 rupees, 10 paise. If you are investing 100 rupees, you should get a minimum return of 10 rupees. If you are investing 1 lakh rupees, you should get a minimum return of 10,000 rupees. Like that, this minimum return concept is given as the weighted average cost of capital. For example, you are having three divisions in a department: Division A, Division B, and Division C. Division A, they are earning a profit of 15,000 rupees. Division B, they are earning a profit of 20,000 rupees. Division C, they are earning a profit of 10,000 rupees. Now, in all the three divisions, you are investing 1 lakh rupees. For each division, 1 lakh rupees is the capital investment. This 15,000, 20,000, that is called as the controllable profit. This is the profit as per the division. All the things within the control of the division, if they manage properly, due to that factors alone, they are getting this much profit. If they are getting any loss due to unavoidable circumstances, like things which are not within the control of the divisional manager, that will not be considered. Only the factors within the control of the divisional manager will be considered. That is called as the controllable profit. The profit which can be controlled by the divisional manager alone. And then this is the capital investment that is required in each of the division. Now, for example, we can take that the weighted average cost of capital, the minimum return to be earned to be 10%. Now, what is happening? The minimum return is, in 1 lakh, they should get a minimum return of 10,000 each of them. Now, this is the actual income they are earning. This is the minimum income that they should have earned based on the capital investment. You are investing 1 lakh rupees, and then 10% of the cost of capital means 10,000 is the minimum profit which you have to get, minimum return which you have to get. This is the minimum return, this is the actual return. The difference between these two is called as the residual income. So what is residual income? 10,000 you have to earn minimum. You earned 15,000. You earned extra 5,000. So 5,000 positive is the residual income. 10,000 you have to minimum earn. You earned 20,000. Very good. 10,000 is the positive residual income. Now 10,000 you have to earn. You are earning exactly 10,000. Okay. Then plus 0. This will be the residual income. Based on this residual income, we can rank the performance of divisions. Now, if a division is giving proper residual income, it is recovering the cost of capital. If this residual income is 0, what is the meaning is that we are recovering the cost of capital. Whatever the minimum return we want, we are achieving. We are recovering the cost of capital, this 10,000, but we are not getting any extra profit. Any surplus we are not getting, but here 10,000 is the surplus and 5,000 is the surplus. What is the meaning of residual income? The surplus which you are having after cost of capital. So we saw about the concept of residual income. If you want it in the format of formula, we can take that the formula is controllable profit minus weighted average cost of capital into capital investment. This is the formula for finding out the residual income. Now we can move to the question. Here we have a question in that we are going to find out the performance of divisions using the residual income. Here we have a company ABC Limited. It is operating in a manufacturing division for cricket balls with a total installed capacity of 1 lakh units per annum. It is having a division. In that division, cricket balls are the product which is being manufactured. It can manufacture a total of 1 lakh units per annum. The division is currently faced with two mutually exclusive contracts to utilize its remaining capacity. Currently, the company is operating at 80% capacity. For 1 year, 80,000 units only they are manufacturing, but actually they have the capacity to manufacture 1 lakh units. So only 80% of the actual capacity they are utilizing, and then variable cost per unit for making one ball, for making one unit, the variable cost is 70 rupees they are incurring. Annual fixed cost for 1 year, total 12 lakh fixed cost they are incurring. Capital employed 40 lakhs. This is the capital investment which we saw in the example. The minimum required rate of return cost of capital is 15%. We saw this also in the example which I gave above. And then the proposal details. The company has two independent proposals. Now here they are saying independent proposals. What is the meaning? To fill the remaining 20,000 units of the capacity. We are operating at 80,000 units per annum currently. We have extra 20,000 capacity. This capacity we are going to utilize, and we are going to manufacture the extra 20,000 units also. We are going to sell it to a person. So for that we are having two proposals. Note that accepting one does not necessitate the rejection of the other, but for the purpose of this evaluation, we are comparing the impact on each other division based on the residual income. So what they are saying here, they already told that we have two mutually exclusive contract options. What is the meaning of mutually exclusive contract? If you accept one contract, you have to reject the other contract. That is the condition. You can accept only one. So we have two options. The extra 20,000 ball we can manufacture extra 20,000 unit, and we can sell it to BCCI or any other sports association. We have one option to BCCI. The selling price they are asking is 120 per ball. They are asking we want 20,000 balls at 120 rupees per ball. And the option B, other sports association, they are asking 20,000 units at 100 per unit. So this is the sales price they are asking. Now we are going to calculate the residual income if the balls are sold to BCCI, and then the residual income if the units are sold to the other sports association. Here one thing we have to note, one important point, the current selling price at which 80,000 units are being sold is not given. Now currently you are manufacturing 80,000 units, right? For that we have to sell it to the outside customer. For that what price we are charging? What is the selling price per unit for the currently manufactured units? That we are not giving, that they have not given in the question. This question I have framed based on the information that I obtained from the candidates only, so they might have missed it, or in the question itself they have not given it. We can solve it under both the assumptions. First thing is, we can assume the current selling price to be 90. If the student who gave me this information has missed that point of the question, so we can take it as 90 rupees. If in the question, if they gave it as 90 rupees as the current selling price, how to solve the question? That we can see. Case 1. The balls are sold to BCCI. What will happen? Currently 80,000 balls we are selling at 90 rupees selling price. This much revenue we are getting. Extra 20,000 balls we are manufacturing. For BCCI, the sales price quoted is 120 rupees. So this much extra sales revenue will get. So total sales revenue 72 plus 24, 96 lakhs. And then variable cost. Total 1 lakh units we are manufacturing. For 1 unit 70 variable cost. So 70 lakhs is the total variable cost. This 26 lakhs is the contribution. You are reducing the fixed cost of 12 lakhs also. After that you are getting the controllable profit. We are not having any cost which are outside the control of the divisional manager. Like that and all, they have not specifically given any point. So we can take this as the controllable profit, and we are not having any other option. And then after this controllable profit, we have to reduce the cost of capital. Capital investment into the cost of capital percentage. So when you reduce it, you will get the residual income. Based on the formula also you can do, or you can remember based on the logic. Profit minus the minimum return that they have to earn. Actual return minus minimum return. So residual income is 8 lakh when we are selling the balls to BCCI. This residual income we are getting for selling the total units. Total 1 lakh units also we are selling. For that we are calculating. For total 1 lakh units, this much is the residual income. Now, case 2, when the balls are sold to the other sports association, the sales will be 80,000 balls into 90 rupees. This is the existing sales. This will be the same in both the cases. Then the extra 20,000 units, 100 rupees is the selling price quoted by the other sports association, 72 lakhs plus 20 lakhs. Total, we will be getting 92 lakhs sales revenue. After that, variable cost, 1 lakh units, 70 rupees variable cost, 70 lakh variable cost. When you reduce this, you will get the contribution. After that, when you reduce the fixed cost, you will get the controllable profit. This is the actual return that you are earning. Minimum return that you should have earned, that is, we are calculating by capital amount investment multiplied by the cost of capital. When you reduce this, you will get the residual income. Now, the residual income, when you compare for both the options, in the first option, residual income is 8 lakh. The second option, residual income is only 4 lakh. So, higher residual income you are getting only when you are selling to BCCI. Here they have asked the residual income when you are selling to BCCI, that is 8 lakhs. And then residual income when you are selling to other sports association, 4 lakhs. So this is the answer that we found out. Now, we have another alternative also. If they did not give the current selling price, this 90 rupees we assumed, if they did not give that, what we should do? We have to calculate the incremental things. We have to calculate the amount for the extra 20,000 balls alone. Here we calculated for total 80,000 units plus 20,000 units we calculated. But if we are not having the selling price, this we can leave it out. And then we can calculate only for the additional 20,000 units which we are going to manufacture and sell it. Now we can see the second alternative where we are going to find out the impact on residual income without the current selling price. This 90 rupees we are not going to assume. For that 80,000 units we are not having the selling price. In case 1, the extra 20,000 units we are going to sell to BCCI. In this 20,000 units, what will be the contribution? 120 selling price minus variable cost 70. 10 lakh will be the additional contribution when we are selling the units to the BCCI. When you are selling to other sports association, extra 20,000 balls, 100 rupees is the selling price, 70 rupees is the variable cost. This will give us the contribution per unit. When you multiply, you will get the total contribution, additional contribution, incremental contribution. In both the cases, we are calculating the additional contribution for the extra 20,000 units alone. So here when you see, when you are selling to BCCI, you are getting extra, you are getting more additional contribution. Extra contribution you are getting, that is also we are getting more in first case. So increase in residual income is more when the balls are sold to BCCI. When you are selling to BCCI, you will get more contribution. So that's all about this question. Now the next question is relevant costing and special order decision. Here we are having a company. This is a ship scrapping question which we are going to solve now. We are having a company. The name is Sealord Limited. The core business is ship scrapping or decommissioning. Focus area is relevant costing and decision making. These two are the concepts applied here. What is the question? Sealord Limited is a prominent player in the ship scrapping industry. The company has been approached by an international vessel owner to decommission and scrap a merchant ship weighing 50,000 tons. The project is estimated to span a duration of 36 months. We are going to destroy a ship. Whatever the ship they are operating in the sea, it will be scrapped after the end of its economic life. After the life, they will be giving it to a ship scrapping company. They will dismantle all the parts, they will sell it, and then they will give the consideration. Like that, there will be a contract between the ship company and then the ship scrapping company. So here we are operating, we are in the shoes of the ship scrapping company. The duration of the project, we have to scrap the ship, we have to dismantle the ship within 36 months. The management of the ship scrapping company has conducted a preliminary cost assessment. What are all the costs that we are going to incur in the process of scrapping this particular ship that we have identified? Variable operating cost. For the routine scrapping operations, normally during scrapping itself, we will incur some variable cost for transporting the equipments, for electricity, for rent, for fuel, like that and all. We will be operating some expenses. That will be the variable operating cost, that is 1 crore per month for the entire 36-month duration. So what is the cost? 36 months into 1 crore. And then after that, specialized infrastructure. The total project duration is 36 months. In that first 24 months, we want the help of a specialized cutting facility. For that cutting facility, we have to pay the rent. The rent is 6 crore rupees per month. And then the next thing is safety and environmental compliance. And one more thing is the 6 crore per month is for the first 24 months only. That is one important thing. Safety and environmental compliance, from month 25 to month 34, we have to incur some extra cost due to the hazardous nature of the ship's inside parts. We have to incur some extra expenditure for preventing the environmental damage. That will be 4 crore per month from month 25 to month 34. Infrastructure and fixed overhead. The company possesses the basic infrastructure for the project. The annual fixed overhead are 120 crore, which are allocated to various projects. These fixed costs will remain unchanged regardless of whether this specific ship scrapping contract is accepted or rejected. If you accept the contract also, 120 crore only fixed cost. If you reject the contract also, 120 crore only fixed cost. In this contract, you will get the total revenue of 230 crore. Now we have to find out the total relevant cost. In this, what are all the relevant cost? This variable cost you are incurring additionally. It is relevant. Specialized infrastructure you are renting additionally. That is also relevant. Environmental compliance also you have to do only if you accept the contract. That is also additional. So that is also will be relevant. Infrastructure and fixed overhead, this 120 crore will be the same if you accept the project or reject the project. So this will not be considered. This is not relevant. So this is the total relevant cost. First three costs you have to find out and add. Variable operating cost 1 crore per month into total 36 months, 36 crore. Cost of cutting facility for first 24 months alone, 6 crore per month, total 144 crores. Environmental cost from month 25 to month 34 only you want that. So for 10 months you want that expenditure to be done, 4 crore rupees per month. So total 40 crores. So when you total all the relevant cost, it comes to 220 crores. The contract revenue is 230 crores. So net benefit what you are getting, 10 crore you are getting. So what is the decision? You have to accept the contract because the net benefit is positive and you are getting 10 crore extra revenue. Now they are asking the financial viability that we already found out. Profit 10 crores. You have to accept the project that also we already told. We have to explain the relevant costing principle that and all. This is like a theory part only that they might have asked us in some other way in the exam. So that will be MCQ based only. If you know the theory, you can easily answer it. For knowing the theory, you can follow our theory marathon in our channel. Now the next thing is we have another question. This is the last question and this is about a canteen operations contract. We are having a company and that we are going to give a tender to another canteen company for running a canteen inside our premises, inside our building. We are going to run a canteen by giving this contract to another person. A Limited has received an offer to run a canteen. So what is A Limited? A Limited is the person going to run the canteen on the premises of Z Limited. Z Limited is the person who is operating the factory or the building where the workers will be working. For that workers only we are going to run a canteen. To operate this facility, A Limited must pay fixed monthly charge. A Limited is the one who is getting the contract. So he should pay monthly charges to the company which is allowing to run the canteen. So the Z Limited is the owner of the building or the factory. So for running the canteen inside Z Limited, you have to pay rent or monthly charge to Z Limited. Z Limited will be the infrastructure cost for that room and all. You need a space for running the canteen. That room space and all it will be given by Z Limited. A Limited is responsible for the variable cost and specific charges. So specific charge and variable cost alone A Limited should pay. That is the person who is going to run the contract, run the canteen. They are giving some operating data. Fixed monthly charges paid to Z Limited is 4 lakh rupees. Number of employees working in the factory 500. Variable cost per meal. If you want to you are going to prepare the meal and then only you are going to give it to the factory worker. 80 rupees is the cost per meal. Now the next thing is service charges. This is to be borne by the A Limited who is going to run the canteen. 10% of selling price. This is the service charge which will be paid by the A Limited to the Z Limited. Lunch utilization. For lunch, how many employees will come to the canteen? 80% of the employees. For dinner, 90% of the employees will come to the canteen. Operating days. In 1 month, 30 days the canteen should operate, excluding 4 Sundays. In 1 day, in 1 month, 30 days they are saying. For 1 month, we have to assume 30 days, and then in that minus 4 Sundays. So for total 26 days, the canteen will be operating. 30 days in a month, 4 Sundays, so 26 days the canteen will be operating. Requirement. Part 1. Determination of the meal price. Calculating the selling price per meal that A Limited should charge to ensure a contribution of 28 rupees per meal. These are the charges that they have given. These are all the charges that they have to recover, and after recovering, they should get a contribution of 28 rupees per meal. As per that, we have to fix the selling price. This selling price only we have to find out that they are asking. And then impact of breakfast services. Additionally, they can give breakfast also. That part we can cover later. First, we can solve the part 1. 28 rupees should be the contribution. For that, what should be the selling price? Now, what is the thing? Sales, when you reduce variable cost from it, you will get the contribution. So that is the basic logic that you already know. I hope you already know. Sales minus variable cost, you will get the contribution. Here, variable cost, we are having two things. One is the variable cost and then the service charge. That is also based on selling price only. So that is also variable. Sales minus variable cost and service charges, you will get the contribution. So, calculation of selling price per unit for lunch and dinner alone we can see. Breakfast, that is the second part, we can see it later. Selling price minus variable cost. Variable cost, they have given 80 rupees. And then service charge, 10% of selling price. Sales price minus 80 rupees variable cost and 10% of selling price, this is the service charge. When you reduce these two from the selling price, you will get the contribution of 28. We need to find out the selling price. So we can solve this equation and then you will get 120 rupees as the selling price. Now 120 rupees is the selling price of lunch and dinner. For one meal, 120 rupees is the selling price. Now, how many meals we have to cook in a month, that we have to see. For lunch, 500 employees we have total. Out of that, 80% employees will attend the lunch in the canteen. So, 80% will attend in one day. This is for one day. And when you multiply 26 days, you will get this much. 10,400 times you have to supply the lunch. 10,400 meals you have to supply. In dinner, 500 employees you are having, 90% people will come to eat the dinner. In 26 days, total 11,700 meals you have to supply. So total how many meals you have to supply? 10,400 plus 11,700, 22,100 meals you have to supply. This is the total meals that you have to supply during a month for lunch and dinner. This 120 rupees is the same price for lunch and dinner. And then we can see the income statement. Sales, this much meals into 120 rupees selling price, this much is the total sales. Variable cost also, we are calculating 17,58,000. Service charge, 10% of the selling price, 10% of 26,52,000. That also you are taking and reducing it, you will get the contribution. And then after contribution, you have to reduce the fixed cost. What are the fixed cost here? Only this 4 lakh rupees is the fixed monthly charges. Other things you are not having fixed, only variable part is there. So you are reducing the monthly fixed charges of 4 lakh, you are getting a profit of 2,18,800. This is the answer for the part 1 of this question. Selling price per meal is 120 we found out, and then when you do this like this, you will get a profit of 2,80,000 something. Yes, 2,18,800. So this is the answer for the first part. Now we can read the second part, which includes the breakfast. A Limited, the person who's going to run the canteen, is adding a breakfast service at its own discretion. They can add the breakfast if they want. Otherwise, they can leave it. They have given additional data also for calculating the breakfast. Variable cost for breakfast. For breakfast manufacturing, we need a variable cost of 40 rupees per unit. Additional fixed cost. When you are selecting to supply breakfast also, additionally 10,800 electricity bill you have to pay. That is one additional fixed cost. And then breakfast utilization. Only 20% of the employees will come for breakfast. Other 80% they will eat in their home itself. And then operating days. Same as above, 26 days. 30 days in a month, 4 days Sundays, and you will get 26 days operating time. And then you have to find out the revised price per meal, assuming a uniform price for all meal types, or specifically for breakfast, if the company still desires to maintain the same contribution per unit or cover the new cost. For that breakfast also, you should get 28 rupees contribution. That is the same. Now, here they have given two things. One is, specifically for breakfast, you can find out another selling price. Or you have to find out a selling price which should be same for all three things. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, every meal, it should be having a same selling price. Using that selling price of their supply, they should also get a contribution of 28 rupees. That should also be there. So they are asking two options. First thing is separate selling price for breakfast. Second thing is you have to have a uniform price for all the meals, and then the contribution 28 should be coming in that selling price. First thing we can find out a separate selling price for the breakfast. Now when you are seeing breakfast, selling price minus variable cost reduced to 40 for breakfast, and then 10% of selling price is the service charge. That is still the same. 28 rupees contribution you have to get. Now when you solve this equation, you will get 75.96. This is the another selling price for breakfast. What is the meaning of another selling price? Lunch and dinner you will be selling at a price of 120 rupees per meal, but breakfast you will be selling at a price of 75.56 per meal. Now, in breakfast, how much meal you have to supply? 500 employees, 20% will attend breakfast. 26 days is the operating days. 2,600 meals you have to supply. So we can see the income statement for breakfast alone. This much meals you have to supply. This is the sales price per unit. And then variable cost also you can multiply and find out. And service charge you can take 10% of the sales revenue directly, and then contribution you will get. Fixed charges you can reduce. This fixed charge is only for breakfast. Additionally, you are incurring 10,800 monthly electricity bill you are paying because you are selecting the breakfast option. The next thing is profit. So you will get 62,010.40 profit for breakfast alone. So this is the answer for part 2. Here when you are setting a separate selling price, for breakfast, the selling price will be 75.56. Now we can see what will be the selling price when you want a uniform selling price for all the three meals. If you want to earn 28 rupees contribution, what should be there? You should recover this much at least for breakfast, and you have to recover this much at least for the lunch and dinner. So when you do this much sales only, you will be able to get the contribution. So when you see the total sales, breakfast, lunch, dinner, what will be the total sales? For breakfast plus lunch, this will be the revenue. And for dinner alone, you will have separate revenue, 1,96,000. When you add these two, you will get the total sales revenue for breakfast, lunch, dinner. So this is the total sales revenue. And similarly, when you add all the other costs for separately breakfast and then the lunch plus dinner, when you add all this, you will get the total variable cost, total service charge, total profit, everything you will get. Here, if you want a contribution of this much in total, you have to get this much sales revenue in total. So this much sales revenue, when you divide it by number of meals, totally how much meals you are serving, that will give you the single selling price for all the 3 meals. Total sales revenue divided by total number of meals. Total this much revenue you want by selling this much meals. So totally 115.32 should be the single selling price for all the 3 meals. This is the uniform selling price at which you are selling all the meals uniformly. You will get total this much revenue. And then you will get this much cost also, everything. After that you will earn this much contribution. This contribution also you will get 28 rupees per meal. Now when you divide this entire contribution by the number of meals, 6,91,610.40 divided by the total number of meals you are supplying, 22,100 plus 2,600, you will get 24,700. When you do this also, you will get a contribution of 28 rupees per meal. So when you fix this sales revenue, you will get a contribution also 28 you are recovering. So that is the objective here. We have to fix the selling price such that we have to get a minimum contribution of 28 rupees per meal. So that we have achieved here. This is the single selling price for all the 3 meals. So that's all about this question. We have found out all the things which are required in this question. So we have solved all these questions. And then if you have any other query, you can put it in the comment. And one more warning I would like to give it to you. If you are watching just the repeated questions video, part 1 and part 2, and then you are going to the exam, it is a very risky thing. You will not be able to clear the exam. Because nowadays, SETB questions are becoming tougher day by day. And then you need to prepare all of ICU study material. You have to solve all the questions in case scenario booklet also. You should be familiar with the theory concept. You should be knowing the key points of the theory concept. And only then you can find out the correct answer. The options are also being confusing for many questions. Even if you are strong in that concept, you will be finding the options confusing. So you need a good preparation for writing SETB. So that is what I am going to tell you. If you are just relying on this repeated question video, I cannot guarantee you that you will clear the exam. You have to first watch the sums marathon and then the theory marathon, and then the repeated questions video you can see. This should be the last resort. After completing all that only, you have to come to the repeated questions. So that's all about this video. This video will be a series, and then repeated questions I will be making day by day. When I am getting questions, I will accumulate it, and after getting 5 or 6 questions in total, I will make a video like this. If you are writing SETB and you are encountering a question in your exam which you have not seen in study material, it is not there in case scenario booklet also. You think it may be from PYQ, RTP or MTP from the old syllabus, and it is very difficult or unfamiliar. You can note down those questions, and then you can come and put it in our Telegram channel. When I get those questions together, 5 or 6 questions, when I get it, I will make a video on that like this itself. This is a series. Repeated questions part 1 video I have done, and part 2 I'm doing it now because I already got 5 or 6 questions which you saw now. So same like that, if you give some more questions for me also, I will try to make it into a video. It will be useful for the students who are writing SETB. For your juniors, it will be helpful who are writing SQM SETB exams in a later point of time. And then you can join our Telegram channel. There all the resources will be shared, and you can post the questions also in our Telegram discussion group. And one more thing is that in the repeated questions video part 1, many have commented that they have got 10 marks, 12 marks or 25 marks, up to 25 marks also. Many have got questions from that particular video itself. So I think it will be helpful if you share this video to all the friends who you know who are preparing for SETB. Now only 12,000 people saw that earlier video, and out of those itself, many people got questions from that video. So if you watch that video, you will definitely get 1 or 2 questions from that video. So you have to share this to all your friends who are writing for SETB. It will be very helpful for them. And you can also like, share and subscribe to our channel. When you like this video, it will be reaching out to more people. Only 10% who are watching our channel are subscribing. So you can consider subscribing to our channel if this video is useful. All the best for your exam. And in this PDF itself, I have given this sums marathon, theory marathon and repeated MCQ part. For this I have given the links for the YouTube videos. This PDF also will be available in our Telegram channel. So I will also try to include some other links for the Telegram channel also in this PDF itself. So for now you can use these links also for watching our marathons and repeated MCQ videos, or else I will also give the videos links in the description and in the pinned comment. So that's all. All the best for your SETB exams.